Sasse. Nice to see you, Senator. Pleasure to have you here. You know, we were talking earlier about Trump on 60 Minutes last night. Did you see it?
I haven't, but I've heard about it.
Oh, it's must-see viewing.
And I'll take your word for it.
He says that he never mocked Dr. Blasey Ford. That he was actually just, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders backed him up. She said it was just factual information he was giving. But the audience was laughing as his portrayal of Dr. Ford went on and on and on and on. Do you think he was mocking her, or was he just giving facts?
I was opposed to what the president did at that rally, and I went to the Senate floor and made a speech saying that this is some of why accusers don't come forward. We should handle it differently than this.
So you agree with him? Okay. Right. He just says whatever he wants. So now you said at the hearing with Kavanaugh that you thought Dr. Ford was a victim, and which I've heard from a lot of Republican senators. You even went down, shook her hand, and you seemed sympathetic to her plight. And yet you still voted for Kavanaugh. And so, same thing with Susan Collins and other people who seem, Flake, very sympathetic. She's a victim. And then you all voted for him anyway. Why?
So the Me Too movement is really important. I believe we have a culture of sexual violence in the country, and the Me Too movement is doing all sorts of things to draw attention to that, and I'm very glad it's happened. When someone comes forward and makes an accusation, they need to be heard. I fought to delay the Senate vote so that we could do more to investigate this. She needed to be heard, either in public or in private, and I believe that she is hurting. There's a lot of stuff in her life that's been traumatic.
Yeah.
She's a human. I wanted to go shake her hand because she was going through a really hard moment doing that in public. This isn't easy to net out on national TV, but I spent 150 hours reading my investigatory materials. There were 7 FBI investigations. They did 146 extra interviews. And there's a lot about her story, including the 4 people she placed at the event who say the event didn't happen.
Well, they didn't remember it.
Some of them said more than that.
They were probably drunk. The rest of them were drinking also.
Yes, I mean, Joy, there are a lot of things you and I are probably going to differ on. I agree with you in the last segment when you said what's wrong with our politics is we start by just saying what we're against instead of what we're for. We're probably not going to agree on this particular vote, but I think the thing we should agree on is that the Me Too movement is bigger than Republicans and Democrats. It's bigger than politics. The Me Too movement belongs to the women who are coming forward and saying, hey, our bodies are not to be taken advantage of as somebody else.
But if he did what she says he did, and she said she remembers him, exactly him, 100%. You know, Susan Collins is saying, well, maybe somebody else hurt her. Maybe that's your position. She said it was him. You know who it is who's assaulting you. And if that's all true, we're stuck with this guy for the rest of his life. He's very young for the Supreme Court.
Did you not believe
It's a huge problem for this country.
Did you not believe her testimony?
Again, I believe that she's a victim, and I believe that she's hurting, and I believe she was terribly served by the whole way this thing was played out as a circus, the media circus that the Senate decided to throw itself in the middle of, not deliberating about rights of accusers, but also rights of accused. But there were real core problems with her story when the FBI went and did more investigation.
Senator Sasse, I would like to show you a picture, if you don't mind, which I think we're going to show right now.
Where do I look?
Get up behind.
I fit.
So this is you and my dad.
Look at you.
And I love that my dad called you a stupid bastard all the time. You look like you're in high school getting caught by the principal right here.
Yeah.
What did you think this picture went viral? What did you think when it was all over the internet? And by the way, my dad was such a huge fan of yours.
Well, my condolences. Well, the Senate has a giant hole without your dad. John McCain did regularly call me a stupid bastard, and he meant it as a term of endearment. It was clear he was only really cussing out the people he most loved, so I learned a ton from that guy.
He said of his own daughter she's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he told us that.
It's a compliment.
I think that was obviously a compliment. My wife, when she saw that, she said, oh, my goodness. I mean, it's one thing to be 47, 46, to look 36, but you have to act 26? Like your workout finished there. Put some clothes on, dude. So thanks for putting that up. Melissa, I asked Megan not to show that, and she dishonored us. By the way, honey, if you've got time on our calendar on Saturday, I watched the last segment. We need matching tattoos. Let's do that on Saturday.
On the ring finger. On the ring finger. Don't do it.
Well, we've been together 20-plus years. We're good. We're going to make this work, and matching tattoos will bond us together in a new way.
Let me ask you this, Senator. During the 2016 election, you were a leader of the Never Trump movement. In fact, you didn't vote for him. You've called the president creepy, a megalomaniac strongman, and you said that he didn't have any core principles. However, when I look at your voting record, and I read your book, and it's fascinating, but when I look at your voting record, you currently vote 87.2% in line with this president. How do you reconcile that?
Well, first, thanks for reading the book.
You're very
I'm
welcome.
grateful that you read them. So I've been a conservative since long before Donald Trump was, and I'm going to be a conservative long after Donald Trump is president. So on many issues, when I was running in 2013, 2014, I told the people in Nebraska what I believed and what I would vote for, and I won, 65-32 because they were aligned with my kind of principles. The fact that Donald Trump has now embraced some of the legislation that I've always held, I don't think it makes sense that I would then change my legislative positions because the president has embraced them. I think you have a lot of people, and again, why I wrote them is because I think the biggest things that divide us in America are bigger than political tribalism. But saying one thing inside politics for just a moment, there are a lot of people on the left who think the only way you can be true to your principles if you disagree with a lot of what the president does is to become a progressive. But I'm not a progressive on policy. Right. So I shouldn't vote against what I told Nebraskans I would do. But the most important stuff in America is about the collapse of local community. It's about loneliness. It's about shorter duration jobs. It's about having a friendship in America the last 27 years. Washington can't fix those things.
But you talk about that in your book, and you say America is an idea. And you talk about the Statue of Liberty saying, give me your poor and your weak. But